House Republicans, under pressure from Democrats and their own angry constituents, agreed on Thursday night to lay the groundwork for a potential vote calling on the Justice Department to release material from its investigation of the disgraced financier Jeffery Epstein, breaking with President Trump's demand that supporters accept his administration's handling of the case and move on. The measure, a non-binding resolution, has not been scheduled for a vote. It is unclear whether Republicans will ever bring it up or whether it could muster the support to pass in the face of a deep GOP divide over the Trump administration's handling of the case of Mr. Epstein, who died by suicide in federal custody while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. But Republicans on the powerful House Rules Committee voted to advance it after Democrats threatened to force additional votes on the Epstein disclosures, which could have put GOP lawmakers in a tough spot with constituents who are clamoring for more information. The dispute was holding up final passage of legislation to claw back $9 billion in congressionally approved spending, which had been scheduled for a vote on Thursday evening. Even as the panel approved the Epstein measure, Mr. Trump, who has faced days of backlash from loyal supporters over the Justice Department's decision to close its investigation without releasing additional information, said that he would authorize Attorney General Pam Bondi to release testimony from grand jury proceedings in the case. "The effect of this resolution is much stronger than any of you had expected," said Representative Virginia Foxx of North Carolina, the Republican chairwoman of the Rules Committee, apparently suggesting that it had swayed Mr. Trump to authorize Ms. Bondi to release the testimony. But the approval of the resolution by the Rules Committee, a panel dominated by Republicans and generally under the tight control of the Speaker, reflected that widening tension between Mr. Trump, his base, and Congress over the case of Mr. Epstein had reached a breaking point. The measure calls on the Justice Department to make available within 30 days documents, records, and communications surrounding the investigation into Mr. Epstein, his death, and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Mr. Trump, who has long promoted conspiracy theories and used them to build his political movement, has urged his supporters to trust his administration's conclusions and essentially tried to cast out those with continued questions over Mr. Epstein from his political base. But Republicans in Congress, including Speaker Mike Johnson, have still called for the release of the Justice Department's files about Mr. Epstein. And many hard-right lawmakers whose politics typically align closely with Mr. Trump said this week that their conservative voters had split from the president and were bombarding their offices with calls for greater transparency. Democrats, for their part, have tried to take advantage of the rift within the GOP, in part by forcing votes on measures that call for the release of Epstein-related files. And Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky, a frequent Trump critic, undertook a long-shot procedural maneuver to force a floor vote on the matter, an effort that had drawn the support of at least 8 other Republicans. Mr. Massey's resolution, which has a wider scope than the resolution passed Thursday, does not have the support of Republican leaders and would likely require broad support from Democrats to pass. Mr. Massey, in a social media post, criticized the resolution as a toothless gesture that would not produce any new disclosures. "Congress thinks you're stupid," he wrote. The Rules Committee passed a non-binding Epstein resolution, hoping folks will accept it as real. The measure advanced on Thursday came after discussions between Mr. Johnson and Republican members of the Rules panel. Republicans on the committee were dismayed that Democrats planned to force a vote on the Epstein disclosures when they met on Thursday to approve debate rules for the rescissions legislation. All but one of them had voted against a similar Democratic effort in a meeting earlier this week, prompting an outcry from their conservative supporters. So far, the Epstein investigation has proved less contentious in the Senate. But earlier on Thursday, Republicans in that chamber blocked an attempt by Senator Ruben Gallego, Democrat of Arizona, to win unanimous approval of a measure calling on the Justice Department to release materials tied to the Epstein investigation. Senator Markwayne Mullin, an Oklahoma Republican and close Trump ally, objected to the move, accusing the Democrats of using the case of Mr. Epstein as a, quote, political football. CBS canceling Late Show with Stephen Colbert after next season. This article is by John Coblin and read by an automated voice. In a decision that shocked the entertainment industry and comedy world, CBS said on Thursday that it was canceling the most-watched show in late night, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and retiring a franchise that has existed for more than 3 decades. Mr. Colbert's run and The Late Show itself will end in May. CBS executives said in a statement that the cancellation was purely a financial decision against a challenging backdrop in late night. It is not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount, said the executives, who included George Cheeks, the president of CBS, and a co-chief executive of Paramount, CBS's parent. Our admiration, affection, and respect for the talents of Stephen Colbert and his incredible team made this agonizing decision even more difficult. Paramount is in the midst of closing a multi-billion-dollar merger with the movie studio's Skydance, a deal that requires approval from the Trump administration. Paramount recently agreed to pay President Trump $16 million to settle a lawsuit over an interview on 60 Minutes, a move Mr. Colbert criticized on his show as a big fat bribe. The merger still requires the approval of the Federal Communications Commission. Mr. Colbert said during the taping of The Late Show on Thursday that he was informed of the decision on Wednesday night. When his studio audience unleashed a chorus of boos upon hearing the news, Mr. Colbert said, "Yeah, I share your feelings." He then praised the network, saying CBS executives have been great partners. "I'm so grateful to the Tiffany Network for giving me this chair and this beautiful theater to call home," said Mr. Colbert, who tapes the show at the historic Ed Sullivan Theater on Broadway. Mr. Colbert's abrupt cancellation is the latest in a series of profound changes to the world of late-night television. The genre has been struggling as the majority of the country migrates in droves to streaming entertainment and away from traditional broadcast and cable television. Last month, streaming overtook broadcast and cable as the leading distribution method for video entertainment for the first time. The number of late-night shows has dwindled in recent years. So much so that earlier in the week, the Emmys awarded only 3 nominations for Best Talk Show because of a lack of submissions. 6 years ago, the category had double the number of nominees. The genre has also experienced a sharp decline in advertising revenue in recent years. In 2018, network late-night shows took in $439 million in ad revenue, according to Guideline, an advertising data firm. By last year, that figure had dropped to $220 million, a 50% drop in just 7 years. The cancellation of The Late Show raised immediate questions, though, about whether it was tied to the government's review of Paramount's merger with Skydance or the recent settlement with Mr. Trump. Mr. Colbert, who has hosted show for a decade, has been a passionate critic of Mr. Trump. Senator Adam B. Schiff, Democrat of California, who was a guest on Mr. Colbert's show on Thursday, said on social media after the taping, "If Paramount and CBS ended The Late Show for political reasons, the public deserves to know." Likewise, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of Massachusetts, said in a statement, CBS canceled Colbert's show just 3 days after Colbert called out CBS owner Paramount for its $16 million settlement with Trump, a deal that looks like bribery. America deserves to know if his show was canceled for political reasons. The Late Show began in 1993, hosted by David Letterman until September 2015, when Mr. Colbert replaced him. This is a developing story.